Hey, so I'm glad that we're all on the other side of February, because February is fucking crazy. There was a lot of, let's call them grapefruits being lobbed at us. A lot of big shifts, big movements. For me, like my biggest theme was boundaries. It's like I have been realizing where I fall short in them and having to reinstate them over and over again. And I will say this, the more work that you have done up until this point in your healing, the less work you have to do on the back end. But this video is specifically for the month of April and 3 days. I wanted to do a video 3 days, and I'm doing it way ahead of schedule only because we're fresh out of February where there was a lot of emotional growth. And I will say this, like, if people were located in places where they didn't belong, they got redistributed. If something in your life came forward and it was like a toxic trait you didn't realize you had, or you're spiritually bypassing to get through it, it made itself very obvious. If there was anything that was lagging in your life that you were too afraid or too timid to move through, you were forced through that portal. Like, you didn't have a choice. And now we're on the other side of it. And it's almost like we're all left with this collective void, this void of energy where we're like, okay, like I cleared the path. I did the thing. I let go of the people. I found the boundaries, like me. I cleared that grief, or that person's no longer in my life, When we do that and we do the work, there's this void that's created from the work. And I feel the void can be sometimes very intimidating. It can also be really fucking empowering too, because you're like, oh, look, like that's how much time and effort and like just energy that all that other shit and fuckery was taking from me. Like, and sometimes like you're the bad guy in this story. Sometimes other people are the bad guy, or just like things or constructs are the bad guys in this story. When you realize that you've got that much more space to fill it with whatever you want, we can sometimes go and fill it with a million different things that are just as toxic, or we could fill it with the thing that nourishes it. Now, the one thing I want to ask is if you guys have ever read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. It is a fantastic book. If you haven't read it, I'd actually recommend you reading it now and starting to read it, because what's happening on April 15th to the 17th this month is going to be fucking pivotal. And I feel like it's like I would say it's the most helpful book in what this next transit's going to be. Basically, and I wrote down my notes, Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, and then the moon between the dates of the 15th and the 17th are all going to be in Aries. I'm going to repeat this. Between the 15th of April and the 17th of April, the Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, and then on the 17th we've got a new moon in Aries, are all going to be in Aries. A lot of astrologers are talking about it. A lot of them are talking about, like, it has a lot to do with like identity and pivots and new beginnings and all that. Absolutely, that is the case. I'm not an astrologer. I'm an armchair astrologer. I do it for my witchcraft, basically. It's like really important to know your big three and your entire birth chart. I'm a huge proponent of that. However, what I'm talking about as a psychic medium and someone who works pretty deep in the realms of psychology is when we do the work that creates the void, we have to figure out what to do with the void. We're learning the lesson. It doesn't matter if you're like in the middle of like figuring that energy, or if you're all the way on the other end of it, or if you feel stuck in the energy of that transformation. You have to figure it out during that time. You have to figure out what to do with that void specifically during that time. And the transmission that I got and the message that I got from my spirit guides are, if you won't, then someone else will. Okay? And I want to be very clear about that. If you have an idea, if you want to launch something huge, if you want to create a new beginning in family, relationship, career, whatever it is, if you want to create those new places in your life to fill that void with something that's actually helpful and beneficial, and it does give back to the greater good as well. Because I will say this, and I know I'm throwing a lot of planets out there, but Pluto is going in, is in Aquarius during that time. So any like visionary stuff that you've got going on, fucking launch it. Like make it happen, create something, fulfill the entire idea. Because if you don't do it, someone else is going to. And then you got to fill that void with something else, whatever that is, right? So wouldn't you want full autonomy and full abilities to create what's going to be in that void with whatever you really want it to be, but you're just a little bit scared to make it happen, right? Again, the book Big Magic, and I would actually like listen to that book rather than read it, because Elizabeth's voice is very lovely. And she has a fantastic voice for reading. Not every author does. But there's something about her voice that it's almost like it hypnotizes you a little bit and lets you know. But the way that she explains it, and I think it's so fantastic, is every idea is a bubble, right? And little, like little magical bubbles. And that bubble will float over to you in its fullest expression. And it'll sit with you for a while. And you may have like the best idea ever, that's an epiphany basically. If you don't act on it, that bubble in its full expression and its entirety will go float to the next person who will actually bring it to fruition, because ideas are like consciousness, like they are reality, and they have their own free will, and they have their own, how would I put it? Like, it's almost like a person, right? It's like an idea it has its own consciousness. And so if you don't do the thing, someone else is going to. So go read the book, Big Magic, or listen to Elizabeth Gilbert tell her story, and start making plans to how you're going to fill that void between the 15th and the 17th. And it'll culminate on the 17th on that new moon in Aries. But all of those planets in our lifetimes, we won't see it happen again. And so if there's something really big that you're working on, for me, it's my hypnotherapy certification that I'm doing my practicum this weekend in Los Angeles, and I will be bringing forward my certification and then coming back to Asheville and offering hypnotherapy. Like, that's my massive shift in ideas. And it's something I'm going to fully embody. I didn't mean to do it during this time. It was just like, it just lined up in that little parallel area. But that's my new beginning, as well as like figuring out my shit with my boundaries. But what is it for you? I'm curious. All right, guys, have a good week. It is Monday. Hang in there. But yeah, make plans, think about it. There is a lot of good stuff happening in the sky, and let it work for you. Make it work for you.